Welcome to Unit 2, Lesson 5, Connecting Factors and Zeros. So now, in these 3 lessons, we are going to analyze the graphs of polynomials and relate it to the expression. Okay, so when you look at these, what do you notice? What do you wonder? So take a look at them very carefully and look at the graphs and the polynomials. Okay, these polynomials are in what's called factored form. Factors are numbers or terms that multiply to make products. That's what a factor is. A factor is a number or term that multiplies to make a product. So 2 times 3, 2 and 3 are both factors. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 is the product. So 2 times 3, these are our products, our factors, our factors, and then equals 6. This is our product. Factors make a product. So x times x is x squared. X is our factor, x squared is our product. So now that we know this is in factored form, what does factored form do? We look for when the graph is 0. It's called our x-intercepts. It's called our roots. It's called our zeros. Okay, so in Algebra 1, you looked at graphs and you factored them. Then you set it equal to 0 using the 0 product property. So we set x plus 5 equal to 0 because if anything is 0, 0 times any number, whatever the number is here and whatever the number is here, makes the whole thing 0. And then we get x equal to negative 5. And what is negative 5? Negative 5 is our 0. So when x is 0, when x is negative 5, the polynomial is equal to 0. So at 5 is 0. That is going to help us analyze these graphs. Then we take our next factor, set that one equal to 0. Subtract 1 from both sides, x equals negative 1. This is our next factor or next root 0 or x-intercept. And finally, for the last one, x minus 3 equal to 0. Add 3 to both sides, x equals 3. And that is our third one. So if we have 3 factors, that means our graph is going to touch the x-axis 3 times. The number of factors equals the amount of time our polynomial touches the x-axis. Okay, so now let's look at the dots in the next one. So we got plus 5 at negative 5. We got plus 1 at negative 1. And then we have minus 2 at positive 2. Now what you could say, plus 4 is at negative 4. Plus 1 is at negative 1. And minus 2 is at plus 2. What you could say is that if the factor is just x plus 4, x minus something, all you got to do is flip the sign to find a root or the 0 or the x-intercept. You could say that. I also want to say that these 3 words are interchangeable. Usually in math and science, a word has one definition, but the English people must have got to math and they messed us up by putting multiple words meaning the same thing. So I blame that on the English folks for the confusion. But you will see these 3 words used interchangeably on the Delta Math in these lessons and in other textbooks. So just be aware of that. Keep that in the back of your mind. The number of factors is how many times it touches the x. If your factor has no coefficient, just flip the sign, and that's where you put it on a graph. Okay, so now for our next one. Find all values that make the equation true. So they want us to find the factors. So if I say x plus 4 equal to 0, or I change the sign, I get x is equal to negative 4. I take plus 2 and change the sign, I get negative 2. I take negative 1 and change the sign, I get plus 1. Because x plus 4 equal to 0. Subtract 4, x equals negative 4. X plus 2 equal to 0. Subtract 2 from xi, x equals negative 2. X minus 1 equals 0. Add 1 to both sides, x equals 1. So basically, it's just flipping the sign. 3 factors, 3 roots or zeros. Okay, for the next one, I'm going to just flip the signs. X equals negative 4, negative 2, positive 1, and positive 3. Just because there's no coefficient, I can flip the sign. So now let's look at 3. 3 is a different case. To get rid of a square root, to get rid of a square, I have to take the square root. When you take the square root of something squared, they cancel out. So you're just left with x plus 4 equal to 0. And we saw from the earlier two, that's x equals negative 4. And the same with x plus 2. Take the square root of it. So x plus 2 squared. To get rid of the square, take the square root. It cancels out. And you're left with x plus 2 equal to 0. Subtract 2 from both sides and you get negative 2. Because we saw that one above and the ones above. So this one only had 2. And we're going to get to this in a couple of lessons. Number 3. Don't worry about this negative 2. We divide the negative 2 on both sides. And we're left with 4 roots. X is equal to 4, 2, negative 1, and negative 3. Now with 5, 2x plus 8. When we set this equal to 0, this is a 2-step equation. So you subtract 8 from both sides. 2x is equal to negative 8. Divide by 2 on both sides. X is equal to negative 4. 7x minus 3. Set it equal to 0. Add 3 to both sides. 7x is equal to 3. Divide by 7. X is equal to 3 over 7. Leave it as a fraction. And for the third factor, just switch the sign and you get positive 10. Okay, now with 6. This goes back to our Algebra 1. How do we factor a trinomial? You look at the third term. You list all the numbers that multiply to make 1 and 4. 1 and 4 and 2 and 2. You add them. You subtract them. Okay, which one makes the middle term? 1 and 4. So these are your roots. X, 1, X, and 4. Okay, with x and 1 and x and 4, we got to figure out which one is, what's the signs. A negative in front of the third term means one of the signs is negative and one of the signs is positive. The second term is plus 3. So if I put plus 1 minus 4, negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. That doesn't work. So that tells me my 1 is negative, my 4 is positive. What we're going to do now is change the signs. X equals 1 and x equals negative 4. And that gives us our factor. 7. Don't forget about this x out front. So this x is equal to 0. Now 3 minus x. What you had to do with 3 minus x is add x to both sides when you set it equal to 0. And you get 3 is equal to x. And for 1 and 0.75, just change the signs. And you get also positive 1 and negative 0.75 as factors. Now with 8, I know it's a lot being done on one page, so you might have to rewind a video back and go back and forth to see the writing. So with 8, you get change the sign. X is equal to -9, just change the sign. Now, x squared minus 4 is a little different case. X squared minus 4, let's set that equal to 0. Add 4 to both sides. We get x squared equals 4. When you solve an equation, you cannot leave x squared. X must be to the first power, and the coefficient, the number in front, must be to the first power. So we're going to take the square root of both sides. X gives us -2 and +2. -2 times -2 is +4, and 2 times 2 is 4. When you take the square root of a positive number, you get two roots, one positive, one negative. So number 8 has 1, 2, 3 roots. Okay, 5.3 is another card sort activity, which can only be done in class. Lesson 5 summary. Read this over, and this should help explain further what we learned in our lesson today. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you in class.